Hi everyone, so in this Pilates video here we're going to try and work through a bit of our lower back area, hip area and core area. So we're going to start off in the hands and knees position. We're just going to open up the back a little bit. So knees hip width apart, hands shoulder apart. We just start off just releasing the upper lower spine through our cat camel sequence. So taking a breath in, through the breath out, we're going to push your shoulders up towards the sky, tucking the head and hips under. Trying to find the stretch in and around the upper back shoulder blade area, holding that stretch point just as you take a breath in lightly. And as you breathe out, work into the lower back stretch as the head and chest lifts up towards the sky, pressing that lower back then in towards the mat. Just trying to find the stretch above the hip area around that lower back, in the spine, holding as you take a breath in, working then gently back into the upper back stretch as we tuck the head and hips back under. Shoulder blades once again press towards the sky to release the thoracic spine out a little bit more. Holding as we take a breath in, breath out, we're working back gently into the lower back stretch, head and chest rises, pressing the lower back into the mat to the stretch point we hold. We're just going to cut a couple more here now, back into the upper and lower back. As you go from one stretch to the other, just trying to take your time, holding just a stretch position before we slowly letting the spine return to the middle position before we work into the next stretch. So just one side at a time, nice and gentle. And then from our last stretch, bringing the body or back into the middle neutral position, we just sit back into our child's pose here. So we're trying to just let the hips go back towards the ankles. So we're trying to find that stretch in the back of the hip area, holding that stretch for a little bit here. Just trying to sit back into a comfortable stretch. So sometimes if the hips are a bit too tight, we might just be able to go over there, and that's fine. We're just going to try and get ourselves back to as far as you feel you can, holding that stretch position. And then from here, we're going to come back out of that, back into the hands knees position. We're just going to try and activate a little bit of the lower back and hip muscles here now through the right side. So we're going to take the right leg behind the body in a lengthened position. Light breath in, and as you breathe out, we're trying to lift the leg up to about hip height and then slowly back down with this one on the right side. Just trying to activate the muscles around the right side of the hip and lower back as you slowly lift the leg up and down. So with these, we're trying to go nice and slow controlled movements. It keeps the muscle under tension for longer. So you're getting a little bit deeper into the muscles by slowing the movement down and trying not to go any jerky or fast movements here. We're just trying to lift it about hip height and then control the leg back down. So once we go into our next lift, we're going to just pause at the top of the movement here. We're trying to hold the leg up now as you bring the right leg out to the right side a bit and then back into the center. So by holding the leg up, we're keeping the muscle under that tension point, working then away from the midline of the body slowly and back in. We're just using a little bit of the side hip muscles to pull the leg out to the side slowly and then back into the center. This is nice and controlled movements that we're looking for on this one. If it feels a little bit too long, we can always bring the leg down to rest and come back into it. If holding this position up feels a little bit too much for the right side of the hip. We're just doing a couple more here on the right side. And then as we ever do done, we'll bring the knee back into rest position. We can just sit back into your recovery phase for a few moments, just taking the pressure off the wrist and shoulder joints and the back. And then from there, if we're ready, we'll come back up and we'll work into the left side here now on those movements. So back in the hands and knees position, the left leg will extend back on the mat. And we're just going to start off again by floating the leg up to about hip height and then back down these slow controlled movements on the left side. Again, we're just trying to slow the movement down as best we can. So we're trying to keep the muscle under tension a little bit longer on that way up and on the way down. Just slowing the lift and the recovery towards the mat. Focusing on that left side. We'll do a couple more here. And then we'll try and work into the hold position at the top of the next movement. And then if we can, we bring the left leg out slowly away to the left and back in. So we're working that leg away from the midpoint of the body, nice and controlled still. And then back into the center again. We're trying to hold this one for a little bit of time, but if it feels a little bit too much, we can always rest the leg and come back into it. If the holding position feels a little bit too much for the muscles on that left side. We'll just try and do a couple more here as we work the left leg away and back in. Coming back into the center, the leg's going to come back on the mat here. fully into the rest position, just releasing the hip muscles for a few moments. So out of that one there, nice and gently here, we're returning back into our hands knees position. Knees about hip width apart, hands shoulder apart here. We're going to try and just work into bracing the core with a little bit of our beginner plank sequence, where we're going to try and float the knees off the mat here and try to hold that brace position. So taking a light breath in, trying to help activate the core for this one here. So we're going to try and just gently tuck the pelvis in a little bit to start off this movement. Just trying to round the lower back gently, and this will bring the rib cage and hip bones a little bit closer together, and it makes it a little bit easier then to activate the core. Once we're in that position, we're holding. We're going to try and float the knees off the mat a little bit. Holding this position for about 3 to 5 seconds if we can before we let the knees rest down, and then the hips can come back to their natural position. So this one is just a nice controlled movement. We start off on the hips first. We're going to try and tuck the pelvis in a little bit, and then we're going to try and float the knees up off the mat, hold in that position for 3 to 5 seconds before we return to release and recover. And as we come back down, we're just allowing the pelvis to go back to its natural position before we work into the next one when you're ready. As the knees come off the mat here, we're just looking for them to slightly come off the mat, not too much. Only just hovering slightly off the mat for that 3 to 5 second phase before they return to recover and release. We're just doing one more here with this one as we tuck the pelvis in, floating the knees up for that 3 to 5 seconds in your mind. And as we come back down from our last one, we're going to just sit back into recovery. Just again taking the pressure off the hands and wrist joints. Hands can roll out here if you want to release the wrists if they feel tight from that holding position. From there, we're going to come out at that nice and gently. Now we're going to work ourselves a little bit into our side hip muscles. So we're going down to our side lying position on our mat. We're going to try and target our outer hip muscles here with our next sequence. So lying down, we're going to have a slight bend on the legs, just comfortably stacked on top of each other, knees, hips and ankles. Head can be rested on your shoulder or elevated a little bit higher, or a pillow in there if that's more comfortable. Just trying to keep that neck area nice and relaxed. And we're trying to flow a little bit through our top leg now with the next sequence, and try and build on each exercise on this. But anytime you need a rest, you take a rest and come back in if this one feels a little bit too long. So just going to start off with our oyster. What we're looking to do is keep our feet together. We're going to float the top knee up off the other knee gently, and then back on the mat again or on the other leg. We're just doing nice slow movements here with the top knee, so we can just nice and controlled lifts up and down, nice and gently. With this one here, we're just keeping an eye on the hips. We're trying not to let the hips fall off each other. So we're trying to keep them hips nice and stacked, and we're trying to move that leg from the hip joint area as we float the knee off the other knee and back in. So just nice controlled movements. We're not looking for too much height with the knee. We're just trying to activate our side glute muscles with our first one here, with our first oyster movement. So as our knee comes back down from our last one here, we're just going to try and work into our kick hold. So our leg's going to lift off the other leg here at 90 degrees, and we're going to try and work the lower leg out into a straighter position. Bend the knee, bring the heel foot towards glutes nice and slowly. So again, we're trying to hold this one as we work just through the lower part of the leg as we kick the leg out into a straighter position, bending the leg back in slowly here. Holding this leg in this position here now just keeps the tension on the muscle, and then working through the lower part of the leg as we go out and in. We're just going out slowly and back in slowly for this one. If this one feels a little bit too long to hold, we can bring the leg down and rest and come back into it. We could do these one at a time as well, and then lift after each one if you need a wee recovery in between this one. So as we bring the leg back down here, it's going to bring the leg back fully down on the mat, and then we're going to try and extend your leg out in that lengthened position now at the bottom position here. So our two knees are still stacked on top of each other, that back leg still bent as they support the hips. And we're going to work through our side leg lift now, so we're trying to keep that leg in that more straighter lengthened position, up and down here. So the leg in that straighter position now, you'll feel the glute muscles work a little harder because they already have been worked from the previous two. So we're just putting a little bit more pressure on them now with this next movement. Again, we can rest the leg fully on the mat for a few moments after the leg returns and recover and build back into it when you're ready. Or we can flow through the movement here as I'm doing. So whatever you feel comfortable as we lift the leg just slightly beyond hip height and then back down for this sequence. So as our leg comes back down here, we're going to just pause about hip height. I'm going to try and work on their slow leg circles for the next one. So we're trying to draw a circle with our leg from the hip, just nice and slowly. Just controlled circle movements here from the hip. We can go larger in the circle to get more into this one if you need. Smaller if that is too much for the hip. Just nice and comfortable circles all the way around if we can, drawing that circle as best we can. We'll do a few more circles here continuously if we can. And after the last couple here, we're going to bring the leg down and we just slightly tap that side out just to recover in behind the bony bit of the hip in that glute medius area. So we tap that out, rub that out just to release the tension of the muscle if it feels a little bit tight. Once you're ready, we're going to bring ourselves around to the other side and we'll even the body and even the hip side. So again, we're going to come to our new side here. Slightly on the knee stacked, head is relaxed on the shoulder or pillow or head can be elevated. Knees, ankles and hips are on top of each other here. And we'll start off just with our oyster sequence just to activate and work through. Again, we're trying to flow through this side as well, but recover anytime we need. Starting off with our oyster, we're going to keep our feet together. Knee is going to just float up, off the other knee, and then back down gently. And again, we're trying to build into these once again. So first one or two, so trying to activate, and then build on it then. The knee again is going to float up. We're keeping an eye on our hips, making sure they don't rock off with each other. We're going to keep them nice and stacked. Working the knee from the hip area, and then back down. So our feet are staying connected with this first one. Knee rises and returns. From there then, we're going to just keep the knees together at the bottom position. And we're going to try and lift the leg up into a holding position now. So legs is going to come up just about hip height. We're going to try and lengthen the leg out, bend the leg slowly back in towards the glutes. So we're trying to hold this top position as we extend the legs out into a straighter position, back in to recover slowly. If this again feels too much to hold, we can do these one at a time. We can rest the leg as it comes back in, lifting and extend again. Or if we can, we're trying to hold this top position to keep the pressure on the muscle. So just whatever you feel here you can do, we go for that. And as we extend the leg out again, we bring the leg down on the mat in that lengthened position. Still that lower leg is back in that 90 degrees position just to support the hips. And when we're ready here, we're going to go into our side leg lift now with that leg rising from the hip joint and back down. Nice and controlled. Up, just slightly beyond hip, and then coming back down under control. So you're trying to keep the flow going if we can, or we can rest the leg as it comes down fully just to take away the pressure off the muscle and then come back into these ones if that's more comfortable at this point. Just see how the hip feels. And then coming back down, pause about hip height. We're going to work into our controlled leg circles now, just to finish off this sequence. Slow controlled circles with the leg from the hip, going larger in the circles to get deeper into that muscle if we need, or smaller if the normal circle feels a little bit too much. You're always in control of the circle though as you go all the way around, just nice and slow and controlled movements all the way around here. We'll do a few more circles if we can. And then recovering the leg back down again, just coming to the front, lightly tapping that out to release and recover that hip area. So we're bringing our back on the mat here now. We'll just try and release our hips out a little bit. So going around the supine position or fully lying down position. And then here we're trying to work into the lower back a little bit here now. So we're going to take the right leg up off the mat in towards the body. And we're trying to hug the leg in. And we're trying to bring that upper thigh in towards the body here. And the other leg is just staying nice and lengthened out into recovery. This is a hold and stretch for a few moments. We're trying to just unlock the lower back and the back of the hip area as you bring the knee in towards the chest. Sometimes I feel a little bit of pressure in the front of the hip as you bring it in. So sometimes we'll feel a pinching sensation. We sometimes need to bring the leg out to the side and in more, just to take away that pinching sensation in the front of the hip. We're just coming out to whatever you feel comfortable here, holding this for a few moments. And then we'll let that leg release fully out on the mat beside the left. I'm going to go to the other side here now with the left leg coming in, hopping that left leg in to the stretch position. And we're just trying to hold here for a few moments at the stretch to unlock the left side of the lower back for a few moments. Once we're there, we're going to bring it back out fully on the mat beside the right leg again. And so the two legs just pause and recover, and the spine just to reset for a moment here on the mat. So we're just going to work into our core here now for our next phase. Try to slowly build up into the core in this video and trying to flow through the movements a little bit. But anytime we need to pause, recover, just rest and come back in. So we're just going to bring our feet on the mat, hands by the side here. We're trying to activate our core muscles a little bit through controlled movements of the leg here. So light breath in as you breathe out. We're trying to just gently press your lower back into the mat, trying to engage the core. I'm just going to lift the right leg up off the mat and in towards the body gently. Trying to hold that core connection. Then we're going to bring the right foot slowly back on the mat. I'm going to just work the left side then, holding the core still to bring the left knee in towards the body, and then slowly back down. From there we can release the core for a moment, reset and squeeze and engage again. So I'm just gently trying to flatten my lower back into the mat just to engage the core a little bit here. I'm not trying to push very intensely into the mat. I'm just gently pushing into that, and that's to engage the core a little bit. That's all I'm looking to do here as we float one leg in and out here, alternating through. But anytime we need to pause and recover, you can rest and release the core and go back in. We're just slowly trying to keep the core connection through a single leg movement here. It's just nice and slow with these ones as well. So we're not trying to go jerky and fast in and out because we'll lose the core. Our focus is keeping that core connected through slow controlled movements then of the leg. We're trying to add the leg on to the core. The core is the focus on this session here. So we're always trying to maintain that engagement, and then we work into the movements. We'll do one more each side here for this sequence. And then from there, just to reset the body, we're trying to build on that here now. So we're going to focus on single leg drops here. Again, the emphasis is trying to maintain the core connection. Can work into a double leg movement if this first one feels okay. But if it's enough, we just stay with that. So we're going to bring the right leg up towards the sky here. Engaging the core, I'm going to slowly drop my right leg down towards the mat. And I'm just going nice and slow and controlled here as best I can. Before the leg touches the mat, I'm going to bring the foot back in and down. And the left leg then is going to come up towards the sky. Trying to hold the core connection here. So I'm gently pressing my lower back into the mat as I lower my left leg nice and slowly. And then bring that leg back in on the mat. And resetting then to the right side leg up and control back down. So we're using the core muscles here and the hip muscles just to control the leg towards the mat. But I'm trying not to lose the core here as the leg drops. I'm always thinking of core, always thinking of lower back is gently pressed into the mat as I control that drop. If the single leg feels okay, we can work into a double leg movement here, lifting the two legs up, holding that core engagement, but again we're just trying to go as controlled as we can on the way down while maintaining that core connection. Legs rebuild back in and then back up when we're ready. But if the single leg feels enough, we're just trying to hold for that single leg sequence. Even working into the double leg movement here, I'm trying not to lose the core connection. So sometimes if we overload the core, you'll find your lower back hasn't been lifted off the mat just to compensate, and we're trying to bring our lower back muscles into it. So we're trying to keep the lower back flattened into the mat here to keep the core engaged and keep the pressure off the lower back muscles. So if the double leg feels a little bit too much, we can just work back in to the single leg here. Our focus is just trying to control the descent, bring the legs back in or leg back in to recover, reset, and then go again or work into the other single leg here. We'll just do one more through this one if we can, resetting at the top through that single or that double leg movement. And as the legs come back in, the feet are back on the mat again for a moment, just letting the core recover and reset. We're back just to our starting position with the feet still on the mat here. We're going to move into our next one here now. We're going to try and bring a little bit of our upper body in with our leg movements just to intensify the core a little bit deeper. But if it feels a little bit too much, we can just focus on the legs only. So our legs are going to come up at 90 degrees for this one. And we're going to bring our hands on the knees gently here. So it's a double leg movement here to start ourselves off. Breath in, we're trying to gently squeeze the core, lower back is pressed into the mat as we just lengthen the legs out over the mat, the arms over the head slowly. And then we're going to bring hands and knees back together to reset. From there we can pause for a moment to reset. Lower back then is gently pressed into the mat again as we float the legs out over the mat, arms over the head, and then back in slowly. We're trying to go nice and slow with this movement. So again, we're not trying to go fast out and in movements because we'll lose the core. Our focus is trying to keep the core engaged. So we're keeping that lower back gently flat into the mat, keeping the squeeze, slowly then extending the legs, arms out, and then back in to the reset position, nice and slowly. So the out and inward phase is just nice and slow for this one. Again, keeping the time under tension with the core a little bit longer. And as we come back into the start, we can pause and recover. The legs don't have to go all the way, so the further they go over the mat, the trickier it will be in the core, so you don't have to go all the way out and in if there's something feels a little bit too much. We're just trying to go nice and slow with the movement. So it's nice and slow on the way out, nice and slow and controlled on the way in. Again, we'll just do one more through this sequence. And as we come back in from our last one, we're going to bring our feet back on the mat. For a moment, hands can return by the side, just to release the core and releasing the hips for a second here. Just to let the body reset again. So next one here, working a little bit off our upper body, a little bit deeper with our leg movements. Again, there's different options this one, so whatever we feel we can do, the first phase feels enough, we just focus on that here. So take a light breath in. What we're looking to do here this time is rolling the head up off the mat, chin towards the chest. We're going to bring the arms up by the side here, holding. And then from here, then we're going to lift the legs up to 90 degrees and push the legs out into a longer position. Pausing for a couple of seconds before we bring the legs back in and down and return the body back down. So it's a slow controlled sequence. The head floats up off the mat first, chin towards the chest. Arms will lift up. Lower back is flattened into the mat, engage the core. Legs are going to come up to 90 degrees and we're trying to push the legs out into a 45-degree position. Hold in that position for a few seconds at the top of the movement before we bring the legs back down, head back down to recovery. If this one feels a little bit too intense, we can keep the upper body on the mat. We can just focus on the legs going up 45 degrees, back in and back down without the upper body engagement. But if we can here, we're working that upper body first up, head up off the mat, chin towards the chest. The arms are going to float up by the side. Legs then come to 90 degrees first. We slowly extend them out, in and down, and recover. And if this one feels okay, we can make it a little bit more trickier by working the arms a little bit longer at the top. So as we roll up here, coming up, the legs up at 90 degrees. Once the legs extend out into that 45-degree position, we can bring the arms over the head, pause in that for a few seconds, bring the arms and legs back in, and return to release and recover. If we're bringing the arms up over the head, as the legs go out again, we're trying not to lose the core, so maintain that core connection. Hold them for a few moments or a few seconds at the top, back in and back down. The arms can stay in their starting position. If the first phase feels enough in the body, with the upper body up, arms up, legs up 90 degrees, and legs out to that 45-degree position for a few seconds, back in and back down, feels enough on the body. We'll do one more here just to finish off our core sequence. And then as we come back down here, again, it's going to let the body gently come back down, legs will lengthen out fully on the mat just for a moment, just to allow the hips and the core to reset. So we're just doing one more here now through our core sequence. We're going to try and work through a modified leg lift, if we can here, with the hands behind the head. So we're going to start off with interlocking the fingers, bringing the hands behind the head for this one, and we're just going to start off just with the feet on the mat to see how it is, and we can progress this one to harder versions if we need. Light breath in here. What we're looking to do is gently exhale, keep the legs in that position frozen, and we're lifting them up from the hips slowly and then back down slowly on the mat again. So the legs rise together from the hip area, staying in that same position, and then slowly back down to recover. We're keeping the hands behind the head here to just make it a little trickier for the core, so the arms aren't barred by the sides to support the core on the lift. If this feels okay, we can make it a little bit harder by lengthening the legs further out on the mat. So the straighter the legs are here on this one, the trickier it will be for the core and the hips just to lift them up and back down, especially with the hands behind the head here. If the first movement felt enough on the core, we could stay with that slight bend on the knee position. We can work into our harder positions here by lengthening the legs up and then back down. So the legs at full extension or straight up. Straight out the bottom, it's going to be the hardest version here to lift and slowly recover. Do a few more here just to finish off the core, just at whatever position we feel we can do for our last core sequence here. And as we bring the body back down, we'll lengthen the legs out again on the mat. Hands again, just going to gently come by the side to recover our shoulders for a few moments. So we're going to work a little bit into stretches again now, just trying to recover the body, working a little bit more into releasing the muscles out. We start off just releasing the hamstrings out in this video. We're going to bring the right leg up off the mat from the hip. Bring the leg up towards the sky. We're trying to hold your stretch at the top of the movement. So we can use the hands to hold the leg for support, or we keep the leg freestanding. We're just trying to find the stretch in the back leg area here, pausing and holding that stretch position for a little bit. So we're trying to get deep into the hamstrings with this stretch. As you hold the stretch, just no pain or discomfort. And then with this one, we're going to just gently slightly bend the knee and we're going to focus on the foot. If we can, now go flex your foot up and down. We're just trying to get into the calf area and Achilles tendon with moving your right foot up and down. We're just going just to your own comfortable range here, so we're not trying to force the foot beyond its range of motion, just going gentle up and down movements here. And this will help release the lower back leg muscle out and the Achilles tendon. Also work a little bit into the right ankle joint with this as well. And then from here, we're going to pause the foot movements. The right foot's going to come back on the mat in the center. And we're just going to drop the right knee now down to the right side, opening out the hip on that right side into the stretch position. So we're trying to relax down to your stretch position here, working inside that right hip joint into the stretch as we lengthen the muscles out as the knee falls down away to the side. Just following away to your own stretch point here for a few seconds. If we need, we can have the right hand under the right leg to support this one if you need. But if we're ready now, we'll bring the knee back up into the center, right leg fully extend out on the mat. And we're going to switch over to our left side through that sequence. We're going to bring the left leg up off the mat here from the hip and find the stretch to the back of the leg area. Hold the stretch again at the stretch point with hands can be used to support the leg. Just finding the stretch so no pain or discomfort. So if it feels a little bit too much, we can soften the knee a little bit to take some of the stretch away. So we're trying to hold to release the hamstrings now on the left side. And then with that, we'll slightly bend the leg, take the pressure off the hamstrings, focusing on the foot movements now as you bring the foot up and down gently. We're just trying to work and release the calf area and Achilles tendon area here with this one. We're just gentle up and down movements with the foot to work into that calf area and Achilles tendon. Not trying to force the foot beyond its range of motion, just staying within your comfortable range of motion here with the foot as it goes up and down. A few more times. And then from there, we're going to just pause, bring the left foot on the mat in the center. The left knee is going to fall away then to the left side. We're trying to open out the inner hip muscle now on that side as you lengthen the muscle out as the knee falls away in that position. Left hand can be under the leg for support if we need to stay support this stretch. So we're trying to open out to the stretch point for a few moments here, opening out the inner hips. From there, then we'll bring the knee back into the center. Left leg can fully extend out on the mat just beside the right leg for a moment, just to let the hips and spine reset ourselves. And then from there, we're going to work a little bit into our lower back. So we're bringing our feet on the mat here. First move, we're trying to move through the stretch. We're going to take our feet off the mat, holding the knees, and we're trying to draw little circles with the knees just to massage and release the lower back. So just little circular movements here, just to work into the lower back. With these ones here, we're just trying to go nice and controlled, and just a size that's comfortable to you. So we're going to go small circles to see how that feels. We can increase the size of the circle just to open up the lower back a little bit more if needed. We're just going to go nice and controlled and slow all the way around. And then from here, we're going to pause the circle movement, stay in this position. We're going to rock the knees now side to side. So we're going to cross with that lower back, side to side with the knees here. Just going to rock the hips gently side to side, and again just get a little bit more into the lower back as the knees move from one side to the other. Again, we're just nice and controlled with this movement. And then pausing our side to side movements, the feet are on the mat. We're going to try and release the back and hold the stretch. So our left leg is going to fully extend out on the mat, right leg is going to come up about 90 degrees. Taking a breath in, and as you breathe out, going to bring your right leg over to the left side. And we're just trying to find the stretch in the right side of that back area, holding the stretch here. If we need, the left hand can be under the right leg just to support this one. If you find a little bit of pressure in your hip, sometimes holding the leg can help. If the stretch feels a little bit too intense, so we just bring that right leg back a little bit to take some of the stretch away so it comes back towards the starting position. As the leg goes across our shoulders and head as best we can, we're trying to stay in that starting position. We're trying to keep the right shoulder as best you can close to the mat as you bring your right leg away. Sometimes we can bring the right arm out away from the body to help keep that in place. From there then, when we come back out of that one nice and gently, back on the mat, the right leg's going to come back fully on the mat. And we're going to work the other side of the back here now with the left leg coming up to 90 degrees roughly. Bringing that left leg now over across to the right side. We're just going to come across to your stretch point here and holding the stretch again. So this one here again, right hand can be under the left leg now to support this one, just to help the hip if needed. And trying to keep that left shoulder on the mat as close as we can to the mat as we bring the left leg across to get the stretch. If the stretch feels a little bit too intense, we bring the left leg back to the starting position a little bit more, and that'll take some of the stretch away. We're just looking for your stretch point here, holding this for a few more seconds to release that left side of the back. And then coming back gently on the mat with that left leg, and then the two legs will fully extend out on the mat just for a moment here just to release and reset the spine. Good, zoom one more here now through the back. We're trying to work a little bit underneath folds just to unlock the lower left side of the back and right side. So hands a little bit away from the body here for this. Feet are going to be on the mat, knees together. Light breath in as you breathe out. We're going to drop the two knees down to the right side together, let them fall down as far as they can go. And then as you take a breath in, we're going to gently bring the knees back up, and the next breath away, they're going to fall gently to the left side as far as they can go. So as they fall down, we're trying to keep the head and shoulders staying connected to the mat or back, staying in their starting position. Rebuild the knees back up and they fall away then to the right side again. So just trying to work through this one side to side, just trying to release and unlock the lower back muscles on the right and left side a little bit more. Controlled as they drop down towards the side of the mat. Not trying to force beyond their stretch here. So just fall away gently, back in and switch over. Then as we come back out from our last one here, so we go inside the hips one last time. So we bring the soles of the feet together in this position and we drop the two knees down towards the mat here. So as the knees fall away, we're just trying to open out both sides of the hip, inner hip area, relax into their stretch position here, opening out the hips. If the stretch feels a little bit too intense, we can use the hands and push against the legs a little bit, or support them by keeping them underneath, and upper part of the arm is connected to the mat, and this will help support the hips if needed here. So you're trying to work it into your stretch position, holding that stretch for a few moments here to unlock the hips, the inner hips a little bit more. And then from there, we're going to bring the knees back together and relax the legs back out. Fully on the mat here, we're just going to just reset our body now through our breath. So we focus on nice deep breaths into the nose, out through the mouth here now for our last few moments. Nice deep breath in, long breath out. As we breathe out, just letting the body sink deeper into the mat. So we're just letting the heart rate rest, the muscles rest and recover through the breath here. Focusing on the deep breath in, the long breath out. Just trying to let the body recover and relax for our last few moments here. From there, we'll just gently open the eyes up again when you're ready. And that is the session complete.